First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to YAHAWAH, Bahashem Yahawashi, Bahashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Much respect to the brothers laboring this truth worldwide to wake up the elect of the children of Israel. It's your brother Dawadah coming to you with another lesson. And this lesson is going to be entitled Simply Humble. So, the Most High God resisteth the proud, man. And, he showeth grace to the humble. And you have to come back with a humble, contrite spirit and seek the Most High 10 times harder, man. You gotta be humble enough to take correction. Be humble enough to admit when you're wrong, right? So, I had this definition queued up on Etymology Online. Humble, an adjective, late 13th century, of persons submissive, respectful, lowly in manner, modest, not self-asserting, right? Not self-will, obedient. From Old English, humble, earlier a male, from Latin, humilius, lowly, humble, literally on the ground, right? Literally on the ground, right? Lowly in kind, state, condition, or amount. Also of low birth or rank, right? See, the verb render oneself humble, also to bend, kneel, or bow. Who we gonna bow to? Who we gonna kneel to? Yahawaah, right? Lower in dignity, okay? So let's get into these scriptures, man. Because you gotta be humble with a contrite spirit, man. Yahawaah, he humbled Israel in the wilderness for 40 years, right? Let's get that. To what? To prove them. Same way we getting proved right now. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 8 and verse 2. I'm going to start at verse 1. All the commandments which I command thee this day shall ye observe to do, that ye may live and multiply, and go in and possess the land which Yahawah swore unto your fathers, right? And thou shalt remember all the way which Yahawah thy power led thee these 40 years in the wilderness. To what? To humble thee and to prove thee, right? We can prove once again in the valley of the shadow of death, right? To know what was in thine heart, in your mind, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no, right? So the elect was proved then, and the elect is getting proved now. Because he want to know if we're going to, in this wicked world, be able to humble ourselves and come back and try and do what he say do. He know we're not able to keep the law perfectly, man. That's why he sent Yahawashi, because all those things had to be fulfilled. We had to go into slavery on slave ships, right? We had to be put under this base man, right? And he knew that the base man was going to set up a system to try and keep us in derision and sin this whole time, right? Verse 3. And he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doeth not live by bread only, right? But by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahawah doeth man live, right? But he had to humble us first. He had to prove us and take us through hell, basically. And we're going through hell again, man, right? In this captivity. But like I said earlier, Yahawah, he resisted the proud, man, right? So let's get that scripture. This is James chapter 4 and verse 6. But he giveth grace, Salakia, but he giveth more grace. Wherefore he saith, Yahawah resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble. Submit yourselves therefore to Yahawah. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw nigh to power, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, your mind, ye double-minded. Okay? Be afflicted and mourn, and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning, and your joy to heaviness, right? So our laughter was turned to mourning once we understood why we were over here. Once we understood why people get shot down the street. Once we understood these things, we no longer had joy in this world, man. Why? Because we don't want to be under the captivity of the so-called white man who is Esau Edom anymore, man. Right? It says, be afflicted and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning and your joy to heaviness. Humble yourselves in the sight of the Most High, and he shall lift you up, right? So we humbling ourselves, man, in the sight of Yahawah, so we can be lifted up in the last day, man. But you got to come back with a humble, contrite spirit and seek the Most High, right? So this is 2 Chronicles, chapter 7 and verse 14. If my people, which are called by my name, who people? My people, which are called by my name, Yasharallah, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face. So you got to humble yourself. Then you have to pray, and then you have to seek Yahawah, right? And seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, right? Then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land, right? But you got to humble yourself first, man. You gotta understand you don't know anything, man. You understand when the spirit get on man to send out correction, man, you can't be puffed up in pride, man. Or you'll be sifted out this thing, man. But that's the spirit that the Most High gave to his hopeful elect, man. Right? But see, once you humble yourself and you admit you're wrong, then he gonna hear your prayer, right? So this is the book of Job, chapter 22 and verse 23. If thou return to the Almighty, thou shalt be built up, and thou shalt put away iniquity far from thy tabernacle. What's iniquity? Sin upon sin, man. We know that we're not able to keep all the commandments perfectly, but he wants you to what? Offend less. Be humble. Understand, man, he could take you out at any time, right? Then shalt thou lay up gold as dust, and the gold of Ophir as the stones of the brook. Like, we don't want anything out this kingdom, man. Right? It says, yea, the Almighty shall be thy defense, and thou shalt have plenty of silver. Okay? For then shalt thou have thy delight in the Almighty, and shall lift up thy face unto power. Thou shalt make thy prayer unto him, what? After you humble yourself, once again, and he shall hear thee, and thou shalt pay thy vows. How are you paying your vows, man? You know, we read in Matthew 22 and 9 that you got to go out there on the highways and byways and do what Yahawah say do, man. That's a vow. That's a covenant you made with Yahawah, man, to wake up the elect of the children of Israel, right? Thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee, right? So we decreeing that the kingdom of heaven is only for the Israelites, that the so-called white man, Esau Edom, that this rulership, this eon, this age is going to be done away with by Yahawah, right? Thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee, and the light shall shine upon thy ways, right? Who is the light? Yahawah, by Hashem Yahweh. He's shining that light so we can walk in the path of righteousness, man, in the valley of the shadow of death, right? When men are cast down, then thou shalt say, there is lifting up, and he shall save the humble person, right? He shall deliver the island of the innocent, and it is delivered by the pureness of thine hands, man. You gotta understand that, man. He's gonna save the humble, contrite person, man, who understand you ain't shit. Cause we ain't shit, man. Our righteousness is as filthy rags, man. He said what? In our affliction, we want to seek him early. Right? So this is Hosea 5:15. I will go and return to my place till they acknowledge their offense and seek my face. In their affliction, they shall seek me early. Right? In our affliction, we're going to seek YAHAWAH early, man. Right? He says, scripture says, remember thy power in the days of thy youth before the evil days. Right? Well, that's what we trying to do, man. And YAHAWAH is going to hear the cry of the humble. He's not going to forget that, man. He's going to be faithful to his service. Why? Because he said he was. Right? Well, this is Psalms chapter 9 and verse 10. And they that know thy name will put their trust in thee. How you gonna know the name? Right? You got groups telling you ain't gotta know the name. But this right here says, and they that know thy name will put their trust in thee. For thou, O Yahweh, have not forsaken them that seek thee. Alright? Sing praises unto Yahweh which dwelleth in Zion. Declare among the people his doings. Alright? When he maketh inquisition for blood, when he get ready to do all this killing, he remembereth them. He forgetteth not the cry of the humble. So YAHAWAH is not going to forget the cry of the humble, man. But if you puffed up in pride, man, he's not going to hear you. He ain't going to consider you, man. Right? So YAHAWAH had a parable regarding what? People being puffed up in pride, man. Right? As a matter of fact, let's get this in the red letter. Alright? It says, and this is Luke chapter 18 and verse 9. And he spake this parable unto certain which trusted in themselves that they were righteous and despised others. Right? So he spoke this parable to who? Somebody puffed up in pride. Two people puffed up in pride, man. Right? It says, two men went up into the temple to pray, and one a Pharisee and the other a publican. Right? The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, Power, I thank thee that I am not as other men are. Right? Extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican. Right? I fast twice in the week. I give tithes of all that I possess. And the publican, standing afar off, would not lift up so much as his eyes unto heaven. Right? He was of a humble, contrite spirit, but smote upon his breast, saying, Power, be merciful to me, a sinner. And that's what you need to be saying, man. You need to ask YAHAWAH to be merciful to you, right? Because we are all sinners, man. Right? It says, I tell you that this man, I tell you this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone that exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. Right? So you trying to exalt yourself, you're going to be abased, man. And once again, YAHAWAH resists the proud, man. Right? We're going to get this last precept. This is in Ezra, speaking with the angel. And the angel told Ezra something very powerful. Check this out. This is 2 Ezra chapter 8 and verse 47. For thou comest far short, that thou shouldest be able to love my creature more than I. So Ezra was going back and forth with an angel who was relaying the words of YAHAWAH, and he telling him, man, you fall short in loving my people more than me, right? But I have oft times drawn nigh unto thee, right? Just like we just read in James, seek the Most High, he gonna draw near to you, right? resist the devil, right? And unto it, but never to the unrighteous, right? The puffed up with pride people, man, he's not going to draw near to them. It says, in this also thou art marvelous before the Most High, in that thou hast humbled thyself. This is the key. In that thou hast humbled thyself, as it becometh thee, and thou hast not judged thyself worthy to be glorified among the righteous, right? You understand, man, your righteousness is filthy rags, man, and now we want to pray for his mercy, man, with that humble, contrite spirit. Alright? That's going to be the lesson. Lord willing, it's been edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to YAHAWAH, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone. Much respect to the brothers laboring in this truth worldwide to wake up the elect of the children of Israel. Till the next time I say, Shalom.